The leader must be able to make good decisions and communicate and convince the team to execute it, that is to negotiate. Because every action is a decision and every interaction is a negotiation. What we present here is applicable in your personal life as well. Too often we face conflicts in our personal and professional activities. There are many instances where employees have to negotiate with clients, customers, suppliers, and even with co-workers. Skillfully negotiated agreements will increase satisfaction, provide a calmer workplace, and help you and your team reach their business goals. Think for a moment. Anything you want or need is owned or controlled by someone else. And this someone will give you what you want if you would give him what he wants. Again, every interaction is a negotiation. Even when you make a phone call or send an email, you are negotiating because you're trying to get the other person to understand and accept your views. So to get something on your terms, you must be willing to negotiate and pay the price. Yes, the price has a price always. Typically it's about money, but not always. In some cases it might be emotions, energy, values, morals, health, stress, image, and even the loss of life. You see, everyone makes a living by selling something. It may be knowledge, products, services, ideas, time, or values. And this buy-sell process involves negotiating. Too often people confuse selling with negotiating. Selling is convincing others to buy your products, services, ideas, etc. And negotiating is agreeing on the terms of the sale. Since people buy from people, a willing buyer and a willing seller must negotiate. Even when buying a fixed price item, you can negotiate time, terms, delivery, service, warranty, etc. I'm certain you feel you're a good negotiator as well. Yes, we can all negotiate to some degree. But don't confuse negotiating with price haggling or bargaining. Becoming a good negotiator takes learning and years of practice. Remember, a negotiation is not adversarial or confrontational. There are no winners or losers. It's a problem-solving process where each party would look across the table and regard the other party as a potential partner. Some of the false beliefs that surround negotiating are, a lawyer is a good negotiator. Not necessarily. Leave the negotiating to your agent, or the subject matter expert should negotiate, and even the supervisor is a better negotiator. Beware of all these false assumptions. What we normally refer to as a negotiation consists of two distinct phases. The strategy phase is where you develop the game plan, and the execution phase is where you play the game. So before you engage in a negotiation, you should try to get a good understanding of the environment. Are there more than two parties? Is a third party intervention likely? Is an agreement required? Are there linkage required? Is it one time or repetitive? All of these will have a significant impact on your negotiation. Now there are some things you should never do when you negotiate. Never threaten or force your opponent into a corner. Never rush to show that he made a bad mistake. Never openly challenge him about his motives, even when they appear to be suspect. And never openly demonstrate your superiority or belittle him. No matter how convincing the data, we're dealing with people. And a perceived humiliation will irritate anyone. Remember, you need to reach an agreement. And that takes two parties. You may win the data battle, but it is likely that you will lose the war, the deal itself. So here are a couple of indispensable rules. Rule number 1 is for buyers and sellers. As a buyer, you should not commit to buy till you negotiate. And as a seller, you should not negotiate without a commitment from the buyer. Rule number 2 is known as the PI rule because of the letters P and I. Separate people from issues and move away from positions to interests. Positions are what the disputants say they want in a negotiation. Interests are the underlying desires and concerns that motivate them. Consider this simple example. David and Tom were fighting over an orange, each demanding the whole orange. It appeared that they would have to settle for half an orange. But then a wise man asked why they wanted the orange. What was in it for each of them? It turned out that David wanted to make orange juice, while Tom wanted the skin to make marmalade. Neither had to settle for half an orange. Now in the real world, USA and China have the same position with regard to North Korea, which is to prevent North Korea from becoming a nuclear threat. But watch out, the two countries have different interests. Now that you have developed the strategy, it's time to play the game. Never underestimate your opponents. It is better to let them underestimate you and drop their guard. Subtly let them know that they cannot get a better deal from anyone. you are indeed their best option. There are many established negotiating tactics, far too many to cover here. Some of the more frequently used negotiating tactics are good cop, bad cop, high ball, low ball, threats and do, low cost, high value strategy, etc. There will be occasions when you cannot agree on an acceptable settlement and the negotiation has to be terminated. You must prepare yourself for such an outcome. Never start a negotiation without BATNA. Remember, you will not be able to pull back from an ultimatum. The negotiation will have to end. A trained negotiator knows that as long as there's a willing buyer and a willing seller, there's a good chance of reaching an acceptable agreement. When you negotiate, facts and figures are only a small part of the game plan. Strategy, emotions, personalities, value, ego, timing, sequence, perceived power, the environment, body language, etc. play a much bigger role. If outcomes are critical, learn to be a skilled negotiator. Remember, in life you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And expectations drive behavior.
Remember, every action is a decision and every interaction is a negotiation.